So good afternoon, everybody, or good morning. I am Jeff Wobbleton. Sometimes some other people I'll be criticized a little bit by being the old goat in the room. Back in 1984, yes, shout out to you. Back in 1984, you get in the car and then they say, hey, go to a call. What do? You pull out your map paper and you go, wow, now here. What a long journey we've been. Not only the journey of that far along, but you're going to start hearing a little bit of the journey that we took almost about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago of why. Why did we do this? We all have an incident in our life somewhere that says, hey, this is our drive, and this is the reason why we do what we do. Mine's October 30th of 2000. My partner gets shot and killed on a dope deal gone bad. So we have that drive, even at 42 years later. Oh, my God, I got to retire. 42 years later, I still have that drive of pushing not only us, first responders, but also pushing the industry to make it right. And that's what we're trying to do, is make it right. So here's my official stance on the Z-axis and why we need to do it as FCC rule, is that, hey, 3 meters and everything. My unofficial reason why is that I got tired of hearing the vendors come up about almost 2 years ago and say, hey, I have the magic bullet and here it is, and hey, it'll work and it's great and blah, blah, blah. No, it doesn't work. Okay. So I got tired of hearing it and I said, all right, it's time to put up or shut up. So we invited them in, we invited our partners in and said, okay, let's try it out. And we took a holistic look at from the 911 center, from the first initial 911 call, all the way through to the first responder on the scene. So we wanted to take a holistic look. Hey, if the 911 call can't come in, you can't plot it, and location is not good, then what good is it? We don't have anything. And so we're going to stop this altogether and just, not do anything. So what we did was we brought the vendors in and said, all right, we went to we were using Vesta then, and still currently are, and said, all right, let's make a 911 call. How does a 911 call come in? And what does it show? Well, Vesta comes up and it shows from the phone device, it shows up as 3 numbers. We don't pay attention to any of that right now, none of it. It's 3 numbers, and the one location was Z. And to ask the industry right now, the 911 industry, well, what is it? It's a number. Nobody knows what to do with it. Nobody knows how to use it. And nobody knows anything with it. So that started the whole journey about 2 years ago. And then the next thing we did was to say, okay, we wanted to take a look at a 911 call and then a first responder call came in. As we did the 911 call, and then we plotted up the devices. We deployed mobile devices that showed that the first responder. Okay, we plotted it up on the application that said, yeah, it's up on a building and it's 1 to 3 floors and maybe 10 floors and who knows. Hey, it's interesting. So what? It gives us a little bit better location of where we are. Better than paper. So then the next thing we did was put the first responders out there and turn their devices on and said, okay, hey, now we have the devices that show inside the application of the first responder and the 911 caller kind of marrying each other up. And now we started that journey almost a year and a half, 2 years ago, Ned Waterfall and I. We meet every other week, so we have put the time in. We meet every other week with the vendors, and I just want to say thank you to all of you. Is that the reason why we have that ability is because we have this big, huge stick in the room. We have leadership like Chief Pablos to say, go out and do it and make sure that you hold the vendors accountable. So Ned Waterfall is going to go through a little bit about what we did and how we did, and everything that was said is true. Location, devices, indoor, all that stuff. It's true. Is it better? Yeah, it's better than when we started because we had nothing. We had a number on the screen that basically said, hey, a caller from 911 is just here. We had nothing. So to where we are today and all the other events that they're showing you today is that's the work that we've been doing for the last almost year and a half. And to where we are. And after he shows this, we're going to say, okay, what's next? We'll go through the next steps of the whole thing. So as you can see, we're knuckle draggers. That's what we are. We're knuckle draggers. So go ahead.
I think I'm wired for sound. I've got too many microphones on. Do all of them work? Yeah. Okay. What we started out with was just wanting to see basics, as few hurdles as we could, we put in place. And we started off with ECC, where we were, and tried calling communications from inside the building. So this is the NextNav pinnacle view of our jail, which is the one on the left, and then ECC is on the right, and that's also police headquarters. And then if you've ever been there, this is the giant parking lot, and Chief Pavlitz's office is over here, down that way. So this is a couple floors underground. We made a couple phone calls subterranean, and I actually found that we were able to find ourselves below grade level. And that worked out pretty well for calling 911 and then marrying that up with the app. So we were sending the information through E911, and the app was verifying what we had done. So for the first part of the test, we wanted to have as few hurdles as we could, and then we wanted to add other high rises into what our test was. Take it across the street, see where it was in a different building, have people moving around, and then have one person be a first responder and one person be a 911 caller, and then see if we could marry the two on the map and see what communications was seen as we were doing it. So the theory was, if a 911 caller calls in from a school, we can then direct the first responders directly to where they are inside that room, or inside of a burning structure, wherever the location would be. And we wanted to make sure that X, Y, Z were all working as what we were told. So we had NextNav and 3AM Florian came in, and this was the first part of the test, and then we also had a couple events across the river for 4th of July. And when we went across this river, we took the metro, and we watched ourselves take the tunnel underneath Roslyn through under the Potomac and into DC, and we were able to track ourselves going through the river at the same time. So this is the diagram just showing what two separate pipe streams of information we were trying to marry at communications. The 911 caller and the 3AM Florian, to see if we could have a test and validate, and who could actually see it. Once we got across the river to the Smithsonian, one of the buildings that we went to, do you remember what the name of that? I think it was the Fur Garden or something right across at the Smithsonian over by the castle. They had a couple levels underground. We wanted to test again underground because that was one of our topics, was making sure that inside Metro we could figure out where things were. And we could have, there are two separate parts. When we came in, this is a group of people that had NextNav in, and then this is a couple other subjects who went underground. We were able to track them inside of the Smithsonian real time as we were going through the Smithsonian, while we were waiting for more of a data-heavy time during the 4th of July, because we went there during the at the 4th just so we could see people streaming the data into during the fireworks, and make sure that we get it during that heavy traffic time, that data is still pushed out. You've seen this several times on a couple other presentations, is the Washington Monument test. Thank you, Charlie, for letting us get into the Washington Monument that day. What we started off with was just outside the building. They have the entrance, and then we got inside the Washington Monument, and we took the elevator up. I'm a firefighter. They let me do the stairs. It was great. But since I went so slowly, I could actually watch myself begin to drift. As I went up through the granite stone, I could see that my XY was drifting, and I was moving further and further. The confidence bubble was getting bigger and bigger as I was going through the Washington Monument. And then once I got all the way up to the top where they have the windows, and I could see sky, I slingshotted back into the Washington Monument. So this test is showing those two separate parts of it, and that we have a video of starting off over here and then going up in the Washington Monument, and then eventually you're floating off into space. What we were finding was that if you look down at one of these points, there is a plaque on the ground, and we have NextNav looking at a plaque that shows the elevation. And we have NextNav showing what it's reading from the barometric pressure sensor, and they're spot on. They match. So we took the, I think we even had Nick from DC come out and test the Washington Monument with us as well that day. We were trying to get as many testers as we could. So what we found out was barometric pressure sensor worked as long as we had a good baseline and we could go all up to the top. XY continued to be an issue as we got more barriers for our signal to get a GPS signal. I have the same issue in Arlington with our apparatus going inside firehouses. It is a bomb-proof structure that doesn't want to let signals get out. And I had several issues with the AVL location for engines and medic units. If they sat inside the firehouse for several hours, my engine 110 would try and get routed through the Potomac River. Its confidence bubble would put it in the middle of the Potomac. Even though we were AIQ, CAD recognized that it was coming out of quarters, but if I looked at AVL, it's floated as far as a couple miles it would float because the confidence bubble gets bigger and bigger as it can't see anything. And it'll bounce around as it tries to figure out the best guess. The 3D visualization was a very good tool about trying to figure out the location for where we were. NextNav had broken it down into about 10-foot to 14-foot datums so that you could figure out where approximately what floor you would be on. And then you could say 34 feet is floor 3. Now I know everybody around this is on floor 3. And you could make those notes and figure out that aspect while you're doing the test. We even did the test during the 4th of July, and all the data was still working while we were stressing the system with Charlie and his test going on during the Washington Monument. We were still able to pull out that information into Florian and Pinnacle. Does anybody have any questions about the tests?
Uh-oh.
Were there any metrics or requirements for the testing that you weren't able to meet, or there were like big failures?
For me, I was just trying to wrap my mind around all of the different issues that we had. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know where the hurdles were going to be, where we should start talking about moving our next steps to, who we should start, where we should start pushing the research. So this is a fact finding. We had a couple test scenarios that we wanted to see how it would respond, and then we wanted to report on those scenarios.
I kind of agree with you is that, what are we looking for? Reliability, location of not only the 911 caller, but also the first responders. And Mary, both of those two up at the same time, that's the Holy Grail, what we've been talking about. Back then, there is no Holy Grail. Today, there is this Holy Grail. The reason why, 58% of the calls in Arlington County in any kind of urban environment, 58% of the calls that we reviewed the data could give you a better accurate location. Problems? Hey, everybody's doing 2D mapping. In the 911 call world, it's 2D and everything's 2D. But I will tell you, and this is one of the things that Rob has done, us pushing the industry. I will tell you today that we've been working closely with, I know, be shocked out of this, is Motorola, and the Vesta side and Vesta Next and everything, as we've been working very hard and pushing the industry, is that there is a 3D model. It's available, we've seen it. It is brand spanking new. I saw it a week ago. We've seen it. Is it a better, are we making progress? Yes. So now we could do the 911 caller on a 3D view in the Vesta side. So from the caller view, yes, we're now going to be able to go to 3D. We have commitments from Motorola that in the first quarter of next year is that taking that Motorola into the new 3D. So now is it we have a lot of companies doing a lot of things, and Rob said it's not one company. But yeah, is that we have to have the devices that provide the information, and how do we do it, and how do we push the industry? And this is how we're kind of pushing the industry, pushing it along. Connectivity, 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 I can't say that enough. As long as we're connected and the devices are connected, we're doing okay. I know we have one more, yes?
Just a question on the resiliency piece. When you guys were trying out, did you try different networks with devices on the 4th of July? So that would be interesting. And then, Jeff, your point on, there's a ton of different vendors like CRG, Geocom, who are coming out with 3D mapping, even inside organizations like Rapid, Rapid, SOS, and others. So there's a lot of diversification, I think, starting to appear now in the marketplace, which is helpful. But I'd be interested on the network side.
Yes, on the network side is that, again, we're a bunch of knuckle draggers, and we brought them in, and basically we got different devices, different carriers, different everything, and just said, hey, you prove to us that this works. Is that we had AT&T, we had Verizon, we had different phones, and basically they had no prep work when they first came in there. We said, all right, load the devices and let's go. And we gave them about 20 minutes to get their act together, because we didn't have enough, we're not going to give them a whole lot of time. So they loaded the devices on different Verizon and AT&T, and then we walked out and basically said, okay, let's start. It works on everything. It doesn't matter the carrier, it doesn't matter the device. We use Apple, use Samsung. It just doesn't really matter. And again, that was kind of the early stages of the whole process, and then we kind of evolved to what it was today. So again, trying to be vendor agnostic is that we need to keep pushing the industry. There is a way to do it. Imagine this, a couple of use cases we found is that somebody drives off a cliff. Can we locate them now? Is that right now it's a 2D map and says, oh, there's a dot. But now if we have Z-axis, we could say, well, it's a negative number. How do we know it's a negative number? Because we went down to WMATA in the tunnels, and we saw it go from a positive down to a negative. So we know it's there. But the holy grail is that, okay, the first responders go up and hey, they're here, and the caller's here. We look, oh, there it is. Second thing is planning. If you're doing a stadium planning event, and one of the things we realized quickly on this is that if a call is here up on the 3rd level and you have a first responder on a flat map that says, oh, I'm here, they're close, no, they got to go up 2 floors. But if you have somebody on a 3D map, and we saw how it could be used, is that the person over here, maybe on the 3rd floor, they can get there quicker than that 3rd one. So there are a bunch of use cases that we took a look at, and again, we've made progress from a piece of paper starting a couple of years ago from, hey, it's just a number to where we currently are today. So anybody else? I know you want to kick us out because I know everybody else is here. We want the important people to come up. Anything else?
I got a question. What happened if you lost a cell phone signal in the Washington monitor?
Yeah, so that was kind of an interesting piece of this whole thing. We got bounced around. Remember I talked about connectivity? Metro was the same way. If you lose cell phone connectivity, it kind of bounces around. Everything you've seen here today is as long as you can connect and the devices connect and where it is and it's pretty confident, you can kind of, it's pretty good. But if there's no connectivity, and then it bounces all over the place.
You see like yourself ascend to 20 feet, drop off from 20 to 50 feet, and then when you got your signal again, because you got by a window at 60 feet, it picks back up at 60 feet? Did you see that in the testing, or did you see?
So the elevation part, I could see as I was going up the steps. I could see that track as I was going up. I could see my XY getting less accurate and drifting, but I maintained a bare minimum signal. So I was able to continue to push data out. We tried with FirstNet, we had T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon, and all of those were inside the Washington Monument as we were doing it. So as long as it had some bar, it was pushing that data out, and I didn't there wasn't a part where it jumped. I can watch that zigzag all the way up every flight inside the one.
Usually
Watching
X,
mine.
Y is good, Z is good too, so
Last question,
we'll charge
on the
you.
first responder side.
See, knuckle draggers, that's all they are, knuckle. Tell us where to go.
On the public safety side, we sometimes will amplify signals in a building, either on the RF or data side, to provide first responders that hotspot that they might need for their devices to connect. Did you do any testing around that? And let's say there's a building you know that has no in-building coverage for data, and we show up with a tactical deployment box and we throw data into the building, and then all these cell phones connect to this hotspot, if you will. Did you do any testing to see if that would show any of that information?
You know what, that's a great next test, I'm gonna invite you to it, is that, hey, you should come with us the next time. Also, when Motorola says, yeah, he'll be there. If again, our next thing that we're waiting for is that this Motorola integration in the 3D and the radios. That's kind of the holy grail. Everybody carries a radio. That's kind of where it is. Cell phones, we've heard, yeah, pros and cons of everything, but if we can get the radios in now, okay, now we're good. We're tracking radios, but at 2D, so let's take that next step. I love that idea. Hey, let's go into a dead room and see what happens. Because this is important to know. These are all these pieces are to know, because we don't want another Ed Tolley or anybody else. We don't want that. What is it gonna do when it reacts and goes into a building? We just don't know. It goes into a fire. We don't know. But we've gone from, hey, it's a number that doesn't mean anything, to currently where we are today. And we've seen the progress and pushed in the industry. We've seen the progress to what it is today, and you're seeing it today. The next iteration is from the first 911 call, you'll see a 3D view of where that caller is, and you actually can plot them not only X, Y, but you can see the caller there. So that's the next version. We meet every 2 weeks, so if you want to join, we meet every 2 weeks. Anybody wants to join and be entertained by a bunch of geeks, then come on over.
Actually, regarding my product, if you lose connection, we store it on the phone until there is a connection again, and so the pathway will backfill in. So as long as we could still know where the phone is, if we lose everything, it just completely goes into a black box, obviously then it can't do anything then.
Like the battery dies?
Yeah, the battery dies, and we do lost comms. So you'll see on our thing, it'll go gray and it'll say lost communication. But if we are still receiving location data, but can't transmit it out, it stores it on the phone until it can.
And I can't say enough about the partnerships. I mean, it's huge. It's huge to us is that we push them to the limits. There's still more to come. So thank you. We appreciate it. And if there's any questions, we'll be around.